What's up, everyone? This is another week of the Tesla Beat podcast. We have our regulars, Mr. Prez, Joe, and Brian from Futuraza. And I feel like maybe somewhat, I can say somewhat of a regular now,
Yeah.
Amy. How's everyone doing?
I was an OG. I helped kick it all off.
Yeah, well, I was just saying more on like the more
Yeah,
recent, but yeah,
exactly.
you were definitely an OG as well. So thank you for that. But yeah, it's crazy. We're at like 132 episodes now. So and now it's just been able to every week. It's crazy. But with that said, quick shout out to Insta360 for being an amazing sponsor. They have some amazing Action Pro cameras. Make sure you check them out. The link in the YouTube description. But with that said, we've had, pretty crazy week. Let me just hit some quick topics and then we'll jump into, wow. And Joe, Mr. Prez added Amy on top. She's a superhero as part of the podcast. That's awesome, man. So all right, so the stock, man, it's just been like, you get a couple of steps ahead and then the whole market, cryptocurrency, everything is just taking a hit right now. So it's not Tesla specific. It's just everything is just really volatile right now. But yeah, I think with that said, before we get into this latest podcast, on Monday they announced the merger of SpaceX and XAI. And on Friday, I think when we chatted, there was rumors of it. Now everyone's had, pretty much 4 or 5 days to consume this. And I know, Amy, you've also put out several notes about it. So I would love to get the panel's thoughts on now, on this being official and what this kind of means for Musconomy, potentially even Tesla.
I can go first because I probably have the least to say. These are two privately held companies that I am not invested in, except for that tiny little sliver that we got through Tesla last quarter. And I imagine the investors of the two companies have substantial overlap. So, of course, it was very easy to get passed and organized. The two companies have a future together that goes beyond what they look like on paper. They've got efficiencies and competencies that overlap substantially in the world moving forward with data centers potentially in space, more like data nodes of a big data center, anyhow you want to slice it. I'm at peace with it because it's not really my, company. So if they like it, I like it. What do I care?
Fair enough. Joe, you want to go? And then we can leave it to Amy.
Yeah, I think I'm with Brian. Like, we'd love to have a say. We really don't have a say. Like, you know what I mean? the, to think that you can control Elon and what he does. I mean, the guy built rockets when nobody else was even thinking about it, and made him land when people said he couldn't. I don't know. You really just kind of want to leave these type of people to their own devices. You know what I mean? Like, nobody would ever tell Steve Jobs, "Hey, whatever you do, don't make that phone, bro. Come on." You know, we need buttons. You know what I mean? Like, you let these people do what they do, and then the history will be the wiser for it. And you can see that play out. And the crazy thing is we're seeing this in real time. You've never seen a company make this dramatic of a pivot for the entire company. You know what I mean? Like, ever. And it's happening right before our eyes. And one thing about Elon, I'll say this real quick before Amy goes, is he telegraphs everything. None of this has been a secret. You know what I mean? Like, he's been telling his whole business since the beginning, and people just don't believe him, so they just don't even care until it actually happens, and then now everybody has an opinion. So it's wild.
Yeah, I agree completely with your comments. I think that as soon as the XAI and SpaceX merger was announced, of course, then the next question was, what about Tesla? And we are seeing, as we would expect, a lot of different speculation out there. That's what we do. We talk about these things. We try and wrap our heads around what does this mean for our investment. But your points were very well taken. That if there were to be a merger between SpaceX, XAI, and Tesla, it would be done by the professional investment bankers. As many people are floating ideas out online of how those deal terms would look and how they would go down, the investment bankers whose job it is would, one set would represent Tesla, one set would represent SpaceX, and they would come to terms of what they think a fair ratio of the shares was and what would that look like. Would it be a reverse merger into Tesla and just go the next trading day? Now Tesla includes SpaceX at a suggested like share price? Would it be the other way around? Would SpaceX go public and then at some later date they'd merge? Like, we don't actually get a say on any of that. If we get so lucky, in my case, for me, I think that this would be the absolute best case scenario for Tesla investors to have all three companies merge. And it's because of that real time pivot that Joe was talking about. Elon Musk has just has looked to the future again in trying to power the Colossus data center for XAI. He realized that there simply is not going to be enough electricity or the ability to make enough electricity to power what he wants to power on the Earth. That you can go to space and the same solar panels are 4 or 5 times more effective. You don't need batteries. He can remove a lot of these blockers, and even though going to space has different blockers, he's determined that he can solve those. So if that's the new goal, to make humanity interstellar, then each of these companies is involved, it no longer makes sense to keep them separate. They always had complementary missions, but now the missions will have converged upon a common mission. And if you keep it siloed, you're not going to be able to have that vertical type integration that removes the bottlenecks, that accelerates timelines and meets Elon Musk's goal that he just said in this interview of 30 to 36 months having enough AI compute in space that we're at the beginning of the singularity. I mean, these are massive, massive goals. It still, as much as he telegraphed everything, it took me by surprise because I wasn't thinking the stars right now, but that's exactly where we're going.
Yeah, it's I think it's pretty wild. Like I said, I think there's some things that, I joined kind of like, following Elon, I guess 8 years ago. So I'm actually pretty late to the game as far as some of the OGs like Amy and you, Joe, and Brian. But I never thought that, AI data centers was a thing, right? And I can tell you right now, these guys are already working with Tesla to look at, one, how do you get something like that up in space, right? And also, two, how are you actually like building the satellite that has the storage with it and has the Starlink connectivity and all of that stuff dialed in. So with the solar panels to collect all of the the sun arrays and stuff. So it's just like, personally for me, I think it makes sense. I think a lot of it, especially Grok, is going to become such a powerful tool. I mean, I've used other AIs, and there's just nothing that is as real time and as, I think, strong as it. Like, just being able to see posting a video, like I've here's some, I guess, behind the scenes. I posted my 40-minute video with Steve on one of my smaller accounts. I had Grok essentially like pull out all of the amazing quotes from it, and then I wrapped that together with some of the stuff I had laid out in a post. But it's just the strength of it real time to be able to process things posted on X, and then obviously pull from like real time places like the Review Journal of Las Vegas, which I pulled from as well from my article. But it's just to be able to power that, right? I mean, you're seeing these companies spend hundreds of billions of dollars on data centers. And if this is going to reduce the cost, I think, in my opinion, this is gonna put not only SpaceX ahead, it's gonna put Tesla ahead, but who knows? Maybe at some point you have something where SpaceX is now like an AWS, a cloud storage company, right? And people are paying for their data centers. Actually, this is just coming to mind again. And if that's true, that's going to be insane. And again, I don't know if they even want that to be in their business model, but if it's that much cheaper to go to space, they can just put a horde of them out there that are just for, other clients that they're hosting their data centers on. at potentially a fraction of the cost. Again, I don't know the economics about it, but it's just the convergence of everything. It just blows my mind. But yeah, Amy, you want to say something?
No, I really agree with that. And I had done a post and Elon Musk commented on it about his initial goal that we saw the FCC filing for the 100 gigawatt hours of compute. And his comment was, we could, and that if you do the math on that, that's 10 times NVIDIA's current compute every year that he wants to launch into space with the Starship. And Elon Musk commented underneath it and reposted me that actually a terawatt is something that he can launch from Earth. And then on the interview we just saw, he clarified that then you run up against the limiting factor of not having enough rocket fuel. And then you're going to do a petawatt from mass launcher from the moon, and that's 100. A petawatt is 100,000 times NVIDIA's current annual production. A terawatt is 100 times every year NVIDIA's current annual production. So when we're looking at this potential merger between SpaceX and between Tesla, they wouldn't be doing it because the companies are going to remain on their present trajectory, because it will be Optimus and the full self-driving coming out for Tesla, and because it will be the Starship and Starlink for SpaceX. They would be doing it because he's got an entirely different market in mind that isn't just an $8.5 trillion company. He's been using that $100 trillion company is possible. They would be going through the pain of a merger and putting this all together because the opportunity is simply too great to pass up, and what he can do is just so enormous if he does it. And so then when you start thinking about the deal terms of whatever the investment bankers would come up with, if we would get so lucky to vote on it, what do you want? 100% of your stake in an $8.5 trillion company? Or even if we get diluted to 50%, but the company becomes a $100 trillion company, which is actually more, which is actually a better deal for investors. And that's why we have to really get used to, why I'm saying it was so surprising for me that everything just shifted within these last couple months of what Elon Musk is trying to accomplish. And now it's a Kardashev 2 society, K2 or bust. And he just leveled up again, and he's going interstellar. He cannot be bound by the constraints of Earth.
If you'd have asked me, if you'd have asked me a year ago, should XAI and SpaceX merge, the question would be why? Why? What possible overlap could they have? When the thought of putting compute in space was raised, a lot of very smart people said it doesn't make sense because it's technically impossible. And of course, that's not true. I had a chance to interview Quincy from Electric Era Chargers in Seattle. He's a former SpaceX engineer. There are other former SpaceX engineers in his company, and they've all talked about it. He said, hey, if you want to have me on to talk about this. So he explained that from the technical side, all this is just a satellite, except a little bigger, a little bit more heat needs to be dissipated into space. All satellites already dissipate heat into space. They have to, or they wouldn't work. It is well understood technology. The only question is it financially feasible? And I'm not worried about that. Either the accountants say it work or they don't. And as soon as they say, we've reached that point where the value of the compute versus the cost to get it to where it is makes sense. If you and I wish to do it, we first need to find someone who can build satellites. SpaceX knows how to build satellites at scale, at tremendous volume, affordably. They've got all the pieces sitting on the shelf. They just put them in. We need to then find someone to launch them and pay their markup. It would obviously be SpaceX. No one comes close on price or volume. SpaceX doesn't have to pay themselves a markup. They can launch more quickly, more affordably, and prioritize whatever makes sense. And then you've got, now how do I get the data to and from my satellite? If only there was a shell of satellites already designed for that. So they've got all the pieces. And while Google looked at it in 2022, they had a paper they put out about it. What they didn't have was any of the pieces. And worth noting, Google does own a big chunk of SpaceX. They put money in real early to get them off the ground. So even with that, this gives Google, I guess, some edge that they could say, look, we are big shareholders, prioritize us too. But even still, they're going to have to pay a markup. And so nobody can do it at this price. Does it make sense? That's up to the accountants, and they'll let us know.
There's a couple of things you mentioned that make sense, and they were quite apparent to me watching that Dwarkesh interview. Like, for one, I mean, all the pieces, right? Like you just said, like Elon just, I mean, you couldn't have wrote this, you know what I mean? If you, I don't know who's manning the simulation, but I mean, this is like pretty wild that he started all these companies and that this is the convergence is happening the way it's happening. But like, who else? You know what I mean? Like, you can literally look at all the CEOs of every company on earth right now and what everybody's building, and everybody has something separated from something, but none of them have all the pieces, and they definitely don't have the manufacturing prowess that Tesla has. It's pretty crazy. But the other thing is, watching that interview, it became very apparent to me that Elon is thinking so many years out. Because I mean, that was probably one of the best interviews. I'll say that first of all, because they asked real questions and they understood. They were just talking, like just talk. You know what I mean? And he hardly ever stumbled and stuttered. It was like a really good conversation. You could tell he was really comfortable and really enjoyed the dialogue. But so what I'll say is this: is that it became really apparent to me that his thought process from a projected years out standpoint was so far ahead of what we're realizing today. Because I mean, they kept saying like, well, why not just do this and why not just do that? And he goes, because once you do that, you still end up with a problem. You know, like you start there, it's going to end at some point. He just doesn't even want to stop. You know what I mean? Like, that's where his mindset is. He just, and somebody who moves as fast as he does. And I mean, they even questioned like, hey, why not just have a TSMC, and why not just have like, bro, I bought everything they have into the future. Like, I own it. I bought it all. Like, it doesn't matter. They're still not moving fast enough. And that's crazy to think about, that nobody's moving fast enough the way that he is thinking that they need to move. And that interview was just really impressive. It was just really great to see, and it really made me understand like why his sense of urgency is the way that it is, because he sees that there's a finite amount of time. He realizes that everything is converging right now at this point in history, and he has to get it done. And you can hate Elon, you can say whatever you want about Tesla or whatever, but who else? You know what I mean? Like, literally, who else?
Exactly. Yeah, I would say like well, I think we all know that I think Elon's 53, 54, or 53 maybe. And we all know that, we are pretty much guaranteed two things when we're born. It's like taxes and death. And he is one of the most he's one of those people that is, he can see the future as far as like where things are going. Like, if you think of like, he was dropping this whole idea of the Optimus Academy. And I think it's kind of weird. If it's like, of course you would naturally think about that. Every company like Walmart or Amazon, they all have these little academies and trainings that everyone goes through. I never would have thought that, oh, well, you're going to need one for the Optimus robots and to train them. And obviously you can program them a certain way, but and he talked also too about how he would literally use Grok to orchestrate, let's say, 1,000 robots to go build a building, right? And be able to literally just kind of like, I think, pull the moves to just do it. And it's just like it's just one of those things where Elon may not have figured out how to solve every single problem, but what he can do is, like, when he's building an electric vehicle, he knows he needs to make it so enticing to the point where it's going to step change the way people think, but also too how do I remove the biggest problems? Oh, I need to build a supercharger. I need to build the next gas station. I need to build, sales and service. I mean, he goes through all of it. I need to hit a certain mileage. And then also too, after I get past, let's say 300 miles, that's going to solve 98% of the problem. I don't need to go to 500. I mean, it's just, it's one of those things where, it's really crazy to see how I would say the convergence of all of this, right? Like, at some, and the importance of even Grok with Tesla. When you think of how important Grok will potentially be to Tesla as far as like just the AI behind everything outside of the Tesla vision that they have right now, it's gonna even make more sense to merge. But yeah, it just gives me chills to think of like what this guy is doing, how much he's doing it with an urgency. And we all know, unfortunately, if he could flip a switch, things would be solved. For example, if you look at FSD, it's taken, from beta to now, it's taken about 5 years. It's taken about 5.5 years, and so it's taken a lot longer. But we're lucky to have this guy here. And when you're having the next huge Mount Everest happen in our lifetime of pivotal life changes, who better to solve it than someone like him? So
Then someone who's got a history of solving impossible problems. Why? Whatever do you mean?
exactly.
That's what I was thinking about when you were saying that earlier. Is like all the things that people said were impossible. You know what I mean? Like the landing of rockets. I remember the scientist who had spoke on that. Like, oh, it's like throwing a pencil from the top of an Empire State Building and having it land on its head exactly where you want it to. You can't do it. They really thought it was impossible to do it. You can't land a rocket on a drone ship. It's impossible. But no.
Well, it's impossible to do it profitably and still have enough payload for it to make sense. And if your contract is cost plus for you, that is true, because the more you spend, the more you make. So why do anything better? Why do it cheaper or quicker? What are they going to do? Use someone else? Yes, they are.
Yeah, it was wild. There was a stat that came out the other day too about the Starlink service. It's literally 97% of satellite service right now. And what's crazy, I mean, there's companies like HughesNet. I mean, if you lived out in the country, you've known about the company for 2 decades now. And what have they done in the past 2 decades to even grow and innovate? And like, they're still just existing, right?
They were one of the first.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's just like people getting comfortable and so because Starlink service is not the first satellite service, right? They're like actually kind of late to the game, and then they just dominated, right? Because they had the rocket that obviously took things up. But yeah, it's just I think we're living in a wild time. I think it's I think the interview last night, especially when you think of like people that understand AI and really aerospace, that just were asking the questions of like kind of like lay out what does the future look like, you know what I mean? And they were able to ask those questions, and he's able to paint this picture of like where things are headed, right? So but yeah, let's jump into, I'm not sure, I think Amy's having some technical difficulty.
Amy was abducted. This is a body snatcher moment, and we're witnessing it in real time.
You there, Amy?
Yeah.
I think you're having some technical difficulties.
The Starlink, and I have
Oh, she's on mute now. All right. Well, let's
Starlink.
Joe I think backing up to this conversation, was there anything else that was shared in the interview that you guys wanted to cover? I talked a little bit about the Optimus Academy. I talked a little bit about Grok and how it's going to orchestrate like the robots. Was there anything else that you guys wanted that stuck out to you?
I don't know. There was a lot that he was saying. I can't really think of it right now. I took my notes and I don't know what I did with them, but it was just, like I said, it was just a really good conversation, and he was really comfortable. And I think there was a lot that was said. He didn't like repeat like he does like a lot of things. Like there was like a lot of things he had said before, yes, but man, they went into the weeds of some stuff and how he actually sees it going and what he plans to build out. And that was what was really impressive to me. Like I really understood why the sense of urgency.
My takeaway is that it's nice to see him get interviewed by someone who actually asks real questions, because he's done so many interviews with such people that that don't follow his work, that don't know what he's doing, that don't prepare for the interview. I've said before, one of the few interviewers to actually get good answers out of him is you, John. But other than that, the list is real short. And there were a lot of questions that I felt he kind of dodged, but they're veering into the realm of competitive advantages,
Right.
trade secrets, and for that matter, things pending with mergers and what,
Yeah,
I'd love
you
to
can't
get those
answer all that
answers.
stuff.
I'm not sure I can get them on camera.
Yeah, and a lot, because we've interviewed him 3 times now, and he unfortunately has to shut down those conversations real quick, because if it's anything to do with like forward-looking statements or product reveals about Tesla and eventually SpaceX, then he cannot speak to it. You kind of have to, a lot of these interviews have to talk more about, how will things look in the future of like, just kind of hypotheticals, and like, how do you solve some of these problems? And then potentially how would you, like how would the services look, and how would you tackle those? But you can't get specific, otherwise, like, hey, what's next on the product roadmap? It's like he's just not going to be able to tell you those things. So, okay, let's see. Let's jump into the next thing. All right, let's go, Joe. I'm going to pass this one to you.
So this is I don't know. It was kind of like a soapbox hearing, but besides the fact that the people who got on their soapbox they found this as their moment to, this is what I needed to tell Tesla. You know what I mean? Like you could just hear that it was kind of annoying, but some people will say like, oh man, I wish Lars had been a little bit more aggressive. Wish he had said this back or whatever. I don't think he could have in some of those moments. Yeah, there was maybe he could have, but I don't think it would have went over as people think it would have went over. These people weren't there to really listen to what he had to say and make sense of it. They really wanted to say what they wanted to say. But the upside is that this whole congressional hearing was like, nobody was against FSD. And you know what I mean? And that was the takeaway for me. And I saw a few people, like I think a congressman that posted something about it too, was like nobody was saying that it wasn't happening. Everybody's aware that it's going to happen. They're just trying to figure out the best path forward. And you could tell these people had no idea. They had never driven an FSD vehicle. The things that they were saying and the questions they were asking, like the one lady was like, I just want a button that I can press to go home. It's like, yeah, that exists already.
You have one. We gave it to you.
It's like you need a Tesla is what you need. Like, you need to buy a Tesla. But like, I don't know. I'm just curious what you guys think. Brian, go ahead.
Well, same thing. Frustration. You could tell none of these people actually knew what they were talking about. They'd gotten their prepared remarks written up by a staffer. And then you've got, Senator Duckworth is very concerned because Tesla doesn't have any vehicles that ship from the factory that are wheelchair accessible. And Lars said, look, we don't write the rules for how a car is required to be built. We just follow them. And once you build a car based on the way cars are required to be built, adding mobility is very challenging, extremely sufficiently challenging that 0 manufacturers make a car that rolls out of the factory ready for that sort of capacity. Yeah, but Toyota has an aftermarket partnership. Okay, but Toyota doesn't build that car. Toyota will roll it into your financing because it's profitable, but they don't actually do the upfit. So you're mad that your body created legislation that makes it prohibit. Okay, great. Can we get to the next question? Because we're trying to save lives here. So I don't know. It's everybody had their own agenda. I think Lars did a great job. Of course, we could all second guess what we would have done in that moment, but he's a cool cucumber, and even he was having not the easiest time staying focused, because this is a very you're in a Senate hearing that's being broadcast around the world. The stakes don't get much higher for Lars. So I think he did a fantastic job.
Yeah. What did you guys think about the difference is in comments between like Waymo versus Tesla and how they handle like the remote operators and stuff like that? Can first off share what was shared, and then how is this a big deal?
Well, I don't know anything about that. I'm going to have to get back to you. I'll have to check on it and get back to you. That's what Waymo said. Anytime it was
What's the split,
inconvenient.
man? What's the split?
Bro,
the
fact that the CEO had no idea about what happens in his company, it was like, come on, dude. Come on.
So you're importing Chinese cars. Well, we do all the design work here, right? But you're importing Chinese cars. Are we? Yes, you literally are. Huh. Well, I'll get back to you on that.
Yeah.
Waymo. I wonder what their stock is doing right now. That was like a very interesting, the whole Filipino thing. I'll say this, because I thought the whole Filipino backup takeover teleoperators was a very interesting remark, because I've seen Waymos be stuck for hours. Like, these teleoperators are like eating popcorn or something. They do not. They're the worst teleoperators imaginable. I don't know what the ratio of teleoperator to vehicle is, but it's sparse apparently, because they're not taking over any of these vehicles like wild.
Yeah, they just seem to get stuck when they're stuck, right? But yeah, no,
That's what it seems like.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah,
I felt bad for Waymo, man, because they set the groundwork. You know what I mean? They're like, we need them to be at the forefront, so that Tesla can just get on in and take over. But like, man, that was very, very brutal.
So it was news to me that the remote operators were in the Philippines. I think that was very interesting. We know that they're paid something like $300 to $400 a month, which means you can scale 10 times easier at least than you can in the US, because you can afford 10 times as many remote operators, and they barely show up. You don't see them in the employment figures because it's so far removed. What does that mean, though, when they wish to scale to every country? The Philippines population is limited. I would love to know the real question. If it was me asking the questions, is what is your ratio of operators to vehicles, and what do you consider safe, and how will you scale it? Because that's all that matters. At some point, we need to get it to the point where the ratio is effectively, no remote operators, just someone sitting back at HQ, like you would see with OnStar, willing to push a few buttons if there's an actual emergency, but 99% of the time plus, all the time there isn't. It's only if a tree falls onto a car that we have to actually have a human get involved. So that means, these questions weren't asked, so we don't know the answer. And then I guess that means we don't know if it'll scale.
Yeah. It's either way, Lars did an amazing job, and I believe it was his birthday too, right? Something like that. Yeah. So so the fact that he's just out there and he's saying, in front of Congress, where it's being live streamed to the world pretty much,
Right.
and being able to handle this, because I think, Brian, you said it perfectly. These are questions that are just given to these senators. They have no idea how this stuff actually works, which is pretty sad considering, where technology is headed. Whereas they should be, very knowledgeable about where the world is going. But, of course, they're not that deep.
Yeah, I mean, but we've seen this before, right? This happens all the time with, especially in members of Congress. these people, like, they're not like tech savvy people, you know what I mean? Like, they don't vote for the things that move, I don't know, countries forward. They try to, I mean, you see it in regulation all the time. They're just so stagnant. They're comfortable where they're comfortable, and that's why China is where China is, and America is where America is.
Yeah. Amy, if you're still able to chat, any thoughts on the congressional hearing with Lars?
I'm not sure. My Wi-Fi is very unstable right now. If you can hear me.
Yeah, it's
Yikes.
okay. Well, hopefully it clears up, and then yeah,
He sounds like an Optimus robot.
hopefully soon, we'll be able to get that cleared up. But
told you that's not the real Amy. I told you.
All right, so some big news, right? I mean, this is where stuff is imminent. What's going to be crazy, what I can't wait for, is to start seeing these being tested and driving around at Palo Alto. I'm going to be out there, and other people are going to be out there trying to see this. And then we're still probably a couple months away from this thing going through the in and out. But what ended up happening is that Sawyer posted something, a new trademark application for its next generation Roadster, hinting that the unveil is drawing closer. This is the first application included a stylized Roadster wordmark, while the second includes what seems to be the Roadster's new design. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm excited because, like I said, this is going to be a complete redesign, right? If you remember, the original Roadster 2 that they unveiled was kind of like the vertical screen that the S and X. But it's gonna be exciting, especially because this is gonna be with the S and X going end of life. This is gonna be kind of like really the hero, or kingpin when it comes to EVs. So
I think it's gonna look like a wider, longer capable cybercab or cybercar.
We're seeing people lose their minds about what it could possibly be, and I'm here for it. I have seen people saying, who even cares? It's low volume. We can't afford it. Oh, I know the answer. People. That's it's fun. It's fun. When I was a kid, I couldn't afford a Ferrari, but they were still cool to look at on posters. And this is going to be something different. This is going to be something, new and exciting. This is going to be a record smasher. Let's do it. Let's smash some records. I'm excited. Yeah. And the big thing with like Formula One is I'll never drive a Formula One car either, but the safety, the performance, the efficiency, all those technologies do make their way out into the fleets of those cars. So let's be excited for that too, I guess.
Just a little bit, but yeah, it's something to be excited for. Like, this is just, it's not one of those mass volume cars. It's just fun. It's just something to do. It's something to really, again, with the Model S, when it was announced and released, it broke all of the records as far as performance goes in gas and electric. And it was really the flagship car that started this whole thing. So I think for this, again, this is going to just kind of destroy, what an EV is possible for an EV. And you also have, like I said, SpaceX package, and a lot of crossover between, the engineers, the structural engineers are both rocket engineers and car engineers, right? So there's just a lot of overlap there, and to be able to build a frame that can handle the amount of torque running out of this thing is just, I mean, who better than rocket engineers, right? And really Tesla engineers, because they did it with the Model S. So it's exciting. Again, it's not, as Elon would say, the world can't always be about solving problems, right? You got to get something excited and create some cool and have something exciting to be hopeful for, especially when it comes to like side projects like this.
And I think it's a good bookend for the company too. They started off with the Roadster, and this is going to be the last vehicle they make that people can drive themselves. You know what I mean? I think it's pretty telling of, like, man, the dramatic shift of the company, right? Like, it just, who would have thought in 2008, like, we'd be here today. Crazy.
No one would have thought. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Nobody. All right. So what is next? All right. Model Y car of the year. It's only, 2 months in. Not even. Best cars of the year, top 10 picks with the winners from Ford, Honda, Tesla, and more. I love how they put Tesla at the end of that too, even though it's the best-selling car in the world. These vehicles set the standard for excellence in Consumer Reports testing. So again, this is going to be the flagship car. I think some really exciting stuff, happening and on the way. Who knows? They potentially hinted at something. They had the I don't know if you guys saw the Cybertruck posted something with the Cybertruck on a keyboard.
Yep.
And it was sitting on the X. So I don't know if that's an indication of a crossover coming or something, but all of that to say is it would be really cool to see something like that happen, because you'd almost be swatching out small volume for another kind of like similar size of volume as well, but it would be built on the Cybertruck chassis, right? So that could be pretty exciting.
Yeah, that would be pretty awesome. I think that for whatever reason, the Model X was all Tesla had, and it wasn't like it wasn't an R1S, right? You know what I mean? It just wasn't that shape that people like, that type of, more suburban type look that is very popular here in North America. But I think if they do something with the Cybertruck chassis, I think that'd be freaking dope. They add a third row to that and expand it out. I think it'd be pretty awesome. Yeah, that would be cool to see.
Yeah, definitely.
For all the
Especially
people who hate Cybertruck, it's just like, you don't really hate the Cybertruck. You just wish it was like either more affordable or you wish it was different.
Yeah. I'm actually starting to see a lot of them now here in the Bay
Yeah.
Area. Like, it's just, I can't go into a shopping parking lot now without seeing one or two of them, or being on the highway and seeing one go by. So even though the volume feels small, I mean, obviously they stick out, so you would notice them, but they are truly becoming, part of the the way that the road looks. All right, so here's another couple of things that happened with these trademarks. It looks like they just dumped a bunch of trademarks. Tesla's filed 2 new trademarks applications for the words Cybercar and Cyber Vehicle in preparation for launching the Cybercab in some of the U.S. states where Tesla's not allowed to use the word cab or taxi. Elon alluded to the Tesla Q4 Q4 earnings that the company would need to do this. So Cybercab, Robotaxi, Cybercar, and Cyber Vehicle are here. So as Elon would say,
Cyber Vehicle. Wow.
Yeah.
Really pulled an all-nighter to come up with that one, I'm sure.
You might as well just they may not even end up using it, but you might as well just grab it anyways. You know what I mean?
Dude, they never have the best names. The Model S was a sedan. Like, the third vehicle they made was a Model 3. Tesla's nomenclature is not wizardry.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So I think we got through the majority of everything. We're gonna end with, of course, Joe. You want to explain what the upbeat is?
The upbeat is a rapid fire question, and
no, I'm just kidding. Yeah, this is where we hit some topics rapidly, go through some quick information and see what everybody's take is. Amy goes first.
Unfortunately, Amy is not here.
say what now?
Amy is not here.
Okay.
Amy has left the building.
Amy has left the building. She was having Wi-Fi issues. All right, so we're gonna hit Brian first. All right, looks like Optimus in Japan. Optimus with president of Tesla Japan yesterday. Brian, what do you think?
And how cool is that? I'm confident we're not seeing 3.0 until the big day, and
Yeah.
that anyone who is seeing it, who can see it, is under the kind of NDA that would destroy your career if you let anything leak. This is likely a good 2.5 model. Uh, we're coming up on it. This is going to be a very exciting year. Last year was kind of a rebuilding year. This year is not as much rebuilding. It's getting things ramped. And we're going to be seeing Optimus soon.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this. It was pretty cool to see him do the whole thing, and yeah, it's pretty dope. But yeah, you can tell from the elbows and the forearm that's not a 3. And not only that, I mean, I think it's been very publicly known, especially from that picture, that it looks like a man in a suit, and so you can still see the hips and everything on that robot. John's on mute. What he meant to
Yeah,
say was a person
exactly.
in the suit.
I agree exactly with that. All right, Joe, this one's to you. Cyber fire truck looks like Lake Alfred, Florida Fire Department is going to purchase one.
Yeah, this is pretty awesome. Like, anybody who owns a Cybertruck, you understand the capabilities of the truck and everything. I mean, everything they said it can't do, you see people doing all the time. So it's pretty cool that they're going to use this, especially let's see, the fire chief owns a Tesla himself, which helped play into this decision. But yeah, they wanted to use it for, I think, eliminating brushes and stuff like that. They were saying a brush truck. Yeah, I'm not a firefighter, so I don't know what a brush truck is, but I think it's going to be pretty amazing to every time I see, like, different municipalities use the truck in different ways, or just any EVs, whether it be like the Silverados or Mach-E's or whatever. It's pretty cool to you understand that they are, first of all, they're saving the taxpayers dollars, but they're thinking forward, and that's always a good sign.
Always. All right, Brian, back to you. Tesla Semi Fremont testing.
What does it mean? Why it could mean anything? No, it doesn't. Semi factory is almost complete. It's been closed off for months. We've seen a lot of equipment going in, including paint shop equipment, stamping equipment. And just last week, we saw the assembly robots in action through an open door. This is happening. We are seeing end of line product managers being hired into Nevada. The time is soon. This is happening this year. We may see it begin ramping through the end of the year. Next year, we expect it to be fully ramped. It's time. It's time, and it's a big deal.
I hope the Roadster has this light bar.
Kind of
Yeah.
needs
Oh,
to,
it will. At this point, it'll have some type of light bar all the way across. I mean, it's just gonna make sense. I mean, it's gonna be, something in between the size of what the 3 and the S, as far as like the width of it, I would assume.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, who knows? It's gonna fly a little bit and potentially more. All right, Joe. Tesla Energy next phase of abundance. I think, didn't you attend Solarama?
Yes, I did. Yeah, now Solarama it's pretty amazing to see that what Tesla's doing for the future, and how excited all of the employees were about the fact that Tesla's now making their own solar panels, and that they have this goal, they have trajectory in mind, but right here, like, this is where it all starts, right? Like, you're harnessing the power of the sun, you have battery backup, you have, what I mean? Like, this is the age of abundance is going to be very clear. And even Elon, in that interview with Dwarkesh, was saying that like people can make all the chips they want, but they're going to have a hard time powering them up. And you saw that when the battery chip shortage was happening. Like, he read that ahead of time. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, we need refineries. We need, I mean? Everybody has these projected goals of, I'm going to make this many trucks and I'm going to do this. It's like, where are y'all getting these batteries from? So,
Yeah.
And so now with this is going to be very interesting. I like the fact that this looks so sleek. The design of the solar panels, like, You know what I mean? You don't really
Yeah.
see anything poking out. You don't really see anything going across the
Well,
roof. It's like really
what people
nice.
didn't realize is this is Tesla's first actual solar panel. I think they were, using a combination of potentially some other stuff from other made companies, but this is the
Yeah.
one where they completely designed it themselves from the solar roof technology. They brought all of that in. They removed the solar rack that would give it the ugly curb appeal, and then they built these mounts that are straight into the roof that just kind of make it sit a certain amount off the roof. But secondly, they put these side panels on it so you don't see any of the stuff under it, but it actually looks really nice, right? And the biggest thing is just being able to it has 18 power zones, so when it's being covered by a telephone pole, it's still able to be fairly efficient, even though it's being covered, whereas most conventional ones will just shut off, right? And completely shut off those zones. So it was a nice way to geek out on stuff, right? We're so focused sometimes on Optimus and the cars, and you forget about what is actually printing the money right now, which is the solar business and the battery storage as well. All right.
Yeah.
Well, with that said, that wraps up week 132. There's never a boring week here in the Tesla world, really kind of the Elon world. And it's kind of funny. We might have to change this name at some point. Instead of the Tesla beat, it's going to be, I don't know, whatever X beat, whatever is the name of the company of all of these things. But either way, it's really exciting. The convergence of these companies is becoming more real by week, and really exciting either way to see, where we're headed. Quick shout out to Amy and Brian and Joe, our co-hosts this week. Please give them a follow. They're tagged here on X. Go follow their YouTube channels as well. And I know you can find Amy specifically on X, but thank you guys for coming each week, and we will see you guys. I think Khan's had to be out this week. We'll see him next week. But hopefully everyone has a great week, and thanks again for your time.
Peace.